And we're live. It's so fast, isn't it?
Oh,
Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you're all having a wonderful Friday. I'm Rosie. Some of you may know me from my voice more than my face when it comes to these live streams. I'm the comms manager for Alchemy. And Chris is joining me today. Chris Strain, a lovely producer, but also designer, developer, many hats, and no hat today, but many hats. Um, how's your Friday going?
oh, pretty good. Just plugging away on Critter Kitchen, trying to get that out the door. I see Elise saying hi. Mark.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi,
everybody.
Mark. Hello, everyone. Um, but yeah, no, it's the evening for me. That's why there's such a delightful harsh lighting on my face because it's all fake. Um, but yeah, no, if we've just had I've just realised I've got this like random banner up. I'm just going to get rid of that and switch to this one.
There you go.
So quickly, the Andromeda's Edge update is out. There's a new update out. So if you haven't read it, then definitely go and read it because it's very exciting. And I wrote some of those titles as well. So catch the Back to the Future reference because I was really proud of that one. But yeah, obviously, if you have any questions about Andromeda's Edge, Chris might have worked on it a little bit.
Yeah, although I have to confess I didn't read the last update. But it's only because I already know what's being said, right?
I mean, you know what's in it from the fact that you did it.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, test Chris's knowledge with your questions.
Yeah.
We'll do question time at the end as usual. But it's really exciting. And yeah, and obviously you've been very busy with the Critter Kitchen and the late page is still open if anyone's interested in that. But yes, very exciting. Seeing some comments. Ooh, very excited for new component picks. And good morning from Aussie land. Good morning. We've got all the time zones today.
Yeah,
I love
wow.
it.
All over the place.
So yeah, we thought what might be fun to talk about is board game conventions because Peter's not here. Did anyone notice? Peter's not here because I think he's leaving Gamma right now.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
He's in the
So he
airport.
was at Gamma.
Hunt him down, find him, say hi to him.
He might be watching. He might be getting on a plane. Who knows? But yeah, so he was just at Gamma, which is a big board game industry event. So it's not for the public, but there's a lot of people there, and it looks really exciting. And I think we were just feeling a little bit like, oh, I want to be at a con right now, you know. And so we thought we'd talk about conventions, give our top tips, which have been compiled by both of us and Peter, which is interesting because I'm British, could you tell? And my conventions are quite different to the conventions that they attend. And I think we have different things that we focus on, which is interesting. If you have any top tips of your own for conventions, feel free to comment them and we can share them as well. And what are your favorite things about conventions? So I'm going to ask you that now, Chris. What is your favorite thing about board game conventions?
Well, see, for me, like you were talking about different conventions, for me, there's two different types of conventions. There's the kind that you go and just play games with people all day long, and they might have maybe like 20 to 40 booths of exhibitors or something like that. But for the most part, everybody's just playing games. And then the other convention is, of course, like the Gen Con, the Origins. It's all about the exhibitors. It's big. There's scheduled events and things like that. So those are two very different experiences. So when you ask me what my favorite thing is, I'm like, well, which type of experience? So in the Gen Con big one like that, I think it's just the exploration. I mean, it kills your feet, but when you have the hallways that are just so big, or the big halls that are so big that you could just spend all day long looking at every single thing. I love the exploration of what you're about to find in the next booth.
And the other kind of convention, what is it? Playing games is your favorite thing? Playing games.
It's more friendships there. It's because you get to meet friends that you only get to see at that convention sometimes, and you spend more time with them because you're playing games with them. So it's more of like really getting to know people and making friendships at that one. So
Yeah, and I think conventions have to find that balance. Some of them do ride hard on either side of those, but
Mhm.
other ones are trying their best to maintain some kind of balance. We've got a few in the UK, not as many as America, obviously, but some of them are way more gaming focused, and some of them have a large shopping area. I personally love the stands are my favorite bit. The booths are my favorite bit. Sorry, stands is what we say. You say booths. Um, I just find that I can just destroy all of my time just by walking around and talking to people. And I love talking, and so being able to talk to my people about board games all day is incredible. Like I just feel incredibly safe in those spaces, and everyone sort of just understands the passion that we have, and it's just really refreshing to be around that. So I just like discovering people who go, "This is the game I made in my garage, and I just want to show it." And I'm like, "That's great! I want to see it."
Yeah.
So I just really like that.
I know you've worked at booths before recently at Essen, right? So one of my favorite things is that hour before they open up, where all it is just the people that work at booths, and you start walking around and talking to each other and stuff. That's my favorite moment right before that. Whenever you work
Yeah, I've only worked at Essen. That's the only one I've ever like worked at. I've worked at a lot of conventions that weren't board game conventions, like anime and stuff like that, helping my friends with their art stands and stuff. But yeah, that was a new experience for me at Essen. Everyone going, go now. And so we had the demos open for Critic Kitchen, and from 10, which is when the whole thing opened, people could sign up. But the people that were actually there at 10 were people who were running stands and
Right.
booths because everyone was queuing to get in. And so I had to open up more slots because it was already filled up with people who were like, I'm taking my lunch break then, so I'm going to do it then. And so
Yeah,
they'd
we
run
all
over and be like, I've already missed out before because it took so long to get into the building. So,
I,
you know, there are pros to being a demoer or a member of staff because you do get first pick,
I see someone
which is pretty
saying
cool.
that they like to spend money when they're there. I
Love
mean,
that.
yeah, that's going to happen.
Finding hidden gems, being able to demo games, ask questions, and
I
then
love
meet some of the
demo
designers.
games. Yeah.
Yeah, it also a bit like I always feel a little bit of like starstruck when I get to meet designers of games that I've just like my favorite games. Meeting Tim Fowers at Essen was incredible because I was just like, Burgle Bros is literally my favorite co-op game ever, and it was just incredibly nice and normal. And I was just not either of those things. I felt just like going, I like all your games. And I guess like outside of that, people would be like, do you do that to everyone who designs things? Like, I don't know, it's just incredibly cool that everyone is there. Like, especially Essen, I guess everyone is probably Essen. My tip is to set a soft and hard limits on how much you're going to spend. I mean, these are already giving spoilers as to some of our top tips that we have, so we might just crack on into our top tips. And
It's funny. I have another method of doing that, but we'll see. We'll talk about that. Yeah.
Of not spending.
Sort of. Yeah.
There are
Well, I'll
many.
talk about
There are
it.
many methods. Right. So let's see. I've got so many banners from previous things that I'm. Here we go. 5 top tips for cons. There isn't a soundtrack. We're just going to sing it. So first, we were just. First, we're going to go through like good things to bring with you that you might not have thought of. And one of the ones that you brought up, Chris, that I really liked was about shoes. Because I have made the fatal mistake of buying shoes the day before, and it was fine because they were all made of 100% elastic. They literally were the stretchiest shoes ever. But I can appreciate like walking shoes. Do you bring? Is that the only shoes you bring? Do you bring many pairs?
So I always wear Converse, and those are not walking shoes.
They're
Those
flat,
will,
yeah.
yeah, they will kill your feet. So I've made the mistake of bringing those for a while until I realized, okay, I went and bought walking shoes. And then whenever I did that the first time, I never tried them on until I went to the convention. And that's why I said, make sure you break them in before going to the convention, because, man, that really tore up my feet. And I was working that convention too. So I was on my feet the entire time.
That is very risky. Walking
Yeah.
shoes are hard to wear in. I also wear not Converse. They are completely fake and from my local supermarket. They're very similar and they have no support whatsoever. And the amount of times I've walked around London all day and I just feel like my feet slapping on the ground going, this is incredibly painful. So I think what's clear is that people don't realize you will probably be walking in the region of 10,000 to 20,000 steps a day.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a lot. I mean, 10,000 is actually not even that much. I genuinely think
No,
it's
my watch tells me how many, and about average on, like, say, Gen Con, I will walk 18,000 steps a day.
It was a pretty good guess then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, yeah, I think that there's something about not realizing that someone like me who sits down most of the day playing board games, all of a sudden you're walking all day, you're going to be exhausted. And that's a big deal. Other things to bring, I'm just going to check my little list here. Snacks. I can't eat gluten or dairy. I always bring food with me to events because usually there aren't many options for me. If there are options, they're probably quite expensive. I don't know what it's like for you, but for us, it's like...
Yeah, it's like $20 for a piece of small pizza that you wouldn't order normally because all it has is like pepperoni on it or something. Yeah.
I mean, actually, our foods are really good at ours, but it's I used to literally make up like roasted sweet potato and my partner would just have loads of food.
Nice.
Because specifically I couldn't eat so many things. But it's gone a bit better, my options. But yeah, and also water. Make sure you have water. It's really, really hard to remember to drink and eat when you're playing games, I think. And yeah, I think one of the things I found was so all of the best advice always comes from people who run stands, trying to avoid getting sick, trying to avoid losing your voice, because those are the people that will. And one of them said, I just drink loads of water and I don't lose my voice. All I do is stay very hydrated. And I'm like, that's amazing. I never leave to even go to the toilet when I'm on a stand.
My friend that works booths all the time, he says he uses throat lozenges to make sure his voice is fine. And I need that as well because I don't talk that much other than if I'm in a meeting or something like this. Like throughout the day, I really don't speak that much. So when I go to the convention, I'm having to yell demos to people and stuff like that. I lose it the first day.
Yeah, there's like medicated cough sweets that someone recommended, and they are brutal. Someone gave me one. It was Chris from, not you, it was another Chris, Cosmoxmas team and Paperthought Games, and I was like, this tastes horrible. And no, it tastes horrible. It's disgusting, but I promise you. And I was like, wow, I just feel like I'm breathing immediately from my throat here. This is incredible.
After a while, they kind of get addictive in a weird way.
It's too sweet.
It's very strange.
And then the other things you said was dry erase markers, pens, things that you need to play games that probably run out in the library.
Yeah, so that's more for not more for, but whenever you go to the ones that are like all day gaming kind of stuff, a lot of times you open up those games and someone's taken the pens or they're all dried out or something like that. Or they have the score pad but no pens and stuff like that. So it's just nice to have little items like that.
I mean, for me, the UK Games Expo in June has just as much gaming. There's the hotel that you can go and play games in the whole time until very late. I've seen people try and be the last there. It's like a standing joke. But yeah, so I totally appreciate that the one roll and write game that everyone's grabbing it's probably gonna run out. I know the Railroad Ink pens always dry out if there's that many people using them. So it's a great shout. And then bring space. Do not bring a full rucksack if you plan on buying games. I have made this mistake. So I start bringing IKEA bags with me because they're fold down very relatively small and you can fit a lot in them.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, we've taken tote bags before that you could fold up and put in a backpack. Space for me is the way I budget buying stuff at conventions.
Interesting.
Because I leave, I have space for 2 games in my luggage, whenever you have to fly somewhere kind of thing. And so I'm like, I can only get 2 games. And that makes it very like, can I get this? I could probably get this at my store later on, stuff like that,
So for me, I'm getting the train, so I could it's really just how much I can carry. But when we did go to Essen, we brought a spare suitcase with us, and we didn't really use it. So what happened was Doug went back via the Eurostar, which is a train, so he could bring whatever weight he wanted. So I actually didn't bring much back with us. We mostly brought small games, we were expecting to be worse than we were, but it was something about, oh, we could get this later, or we were very careful about it. But that's very smart. If you're flying a lot, it makes sense because the weight is super important from a cost perspective. For me, it's just how much do I like my spine? It's one question there.
Well, there is one. In fact, Ellie mentioned it, and I met Ellie at BGG Con last year. And that one we drive to. It's about 4.5 hour drive for us. So that one is dangerous because then I could just buy all the games I want. But again, it's one of those cons where you just play for hours and hours. And so they only have maybe 20 to 30 vendors. So there's not a lot that I'm going to buy anyway. So it works out.
There's still an impressive amount of vendors, actually, because AirCon, which is next week, it's one hall, and the hall isn't massive. And I would say it probably has about 50 to 60. It's not. It's probably like our second biggest that we have in the UK, and I can still spend a lot of money in that hall. And there's still demoers, there's still first-time publishers just showing their games, Kickstarters. So it's not all spending, but there's still about 4 or 5 shops. So yeah. I
mean, it may be more than that. I'm feeling like it just feels that way because there's some of them that I skip or stuff like that. So
yeah. So tip number 2 is staying healthy and avoiding con crud. What's con crud, Chris?
Oh, do you not call it con crud at?
I do. I just want you to explain what it is.
That is the sniffles, kind of feeling like blah. I don't know if it actually. I mean, I guess it's a cold, maybe, but it's not quite a cold. It's a really weird.
Isn't it when you're incredibly run down and your body goes, I appreciate that you've now run your body so hard that you're now going to be ill, some kind of ill. Like it's probably a cold, a mega cold.
I mean, there's a sickness to it. It's definitely like affects you to some, because you'll go home with it or you'll bring it, or either way. But yeah, it's Peter's in the com. Hey Peter.
Peter's in Kentucky right now at an airport.
But yeah, I actually think you get it more in the gaming conventions more than you do in the because you're touching all the bits, right? And so I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. So before 2020, I was washing my hands after every game. I don't touch my face. And I learned that I stopped getting con crud when I did that. And things have gotten a lot better since 2020 because people were more, thoughtful of that kind of thing and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I like that tip of, I can't always wash my hands after every game when you're out at a big convention when there's like hundreds of stands, but hand sanitizer, like you see a lot of people doing it now afterwards anyway, which makes sense. Also, as I said, drinking loads of water can help you avoiding from losing your voice, and often losing your voice can lead to having a sore throat because you've basically sort of rubbed your throat raw from talking, and then it's like, cool, you're sick now. But yeah, often I just get very run down and my body goes, you're run down, so here's a virus because you're not protected. So it's just about being as safe as possible. And eating food is really important as well. Don't forget to eat food. And sleep.
Good for you food in some cases. I mean, you need, the electrolytes, all that stuff. all that stuff that, don't just eat pizza all the time.
Oh, yes, pizza. Don't eat pizza all the time, but do eat food. And I think Peter had this number thing that he was doing. Let me try and pull it up. It was 622.
Well, it was 621. I made it 622.
So 6 is 6 hours of sleep, 2 is 2 meals, and 1 is a shower. And you said 2 showers.
At least.
At least. But yeah,
walking 18,000 steps a day, maybe 2 showers.
I know, right? It's literally exercise, literally. But yeah, 6 hours of sleep is even like a bit too. I would want more than that for sure, if I could. I don't. That's just not who I am as a person. But my partner likes to have a hotel near the venue, so he can go have a nap halfway through the day.
That's a brilliant idea.
He's like, it's busy right now. It's if everyone's having lunch, I'm going to go have a kip. But a nap does nothing for me. It does worse things. I'm literally like even more tired after a nap. Brad, when all else fails, shower.
Have you ever done I guess you do tea more than coffee, or do you like coffee? I don't know. British.
I don't drink coffee.
People caffeine?
Do. I drink tea. Yeah.
Okay. So have you ever done there's a thing that they say drink like your caffeine and then do a 30-minute nap because it takes 30 minutes for your caffeine to kick in. So the minute you wake up, then the caffeine kicks in and it's like a...
I mean, I don't think my tea's that strong.
Yeah,
I think peppermint tea is not going to do too much for me.
I drink like 4 shots of espresso every day. So
I can understand the coffee max though. Peter said he did 3, 2, 1 at Gamma, not enough. 3 hours sleep is terrifying, but for you, maybe that's a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what Peter normally gets, right?
At least it's like a nice way to count, and that's important. Yeah. Also, we forgot to mention your thing that you bring. You bring toasters to events. Please
yeah. Well,
explain why you bring toasters to events.
When you drive, you can bring it. It's a weird thing to put on a plane, but I wouldn't recommend. I don't know if they'd let you on a plane with a toaster. I don't know if they know what to do with that. Maybe you can check it. I
wouldn't even bring it on the train just because it's bulky.
Well, our toaster is like this big. It's just a two bread one. The reason why we bring it though is because you can bring little bagels or bread and stuff like that, and you can have your breakfast in the morning in the hotel while you're getting ready and stuff. Just
do your hotels not have toasters?
No.
Oh, we have toasters.
Well, that's why you think it's weird. No, we don't have toasters.
There's always. I mean, you could just go to the hotel area with the toaster. Put your own toast in.
Hotel. Well, it depends on the hotel, but some hotels have free breakfast here, and that's then you don't need to bring it. But if they don't, then this is what we do, because breakfast when you eat out, it's really expensive, and if you're there for 5 or 6 days, all this stuff piles up. I go with my partner, so you're paying twice as much. All that. It's just the food everywhere at these things are always expensive. So if you can cut out one of those meals and just eat from home. I don't know. We brought a toaster oven once too.
I love that. I mean, I definitely imagine you pulling it out of your suitcase, just the whole, and someone going, "Is the kitchen sink in there?"
I mean, some of them have microwaves, and I've seen coffee makers and.
Yeah, we usually just get a kettle and then powdered milk, and it's just very sad. But
I've heard that British hotels have kettles and all there. That's funny.
It's a thing. Tea is incredibly important to the British public. It's a bit in Doctor Who where he just needed a cup of tea and he was fine. So I don't know if that's true really, but we like it. So tip number 3 is have a plan-ish. So when you're going to a convention, do a little bit of research just to know what events you want to go to. I always what I do is I print off the map. There is a map that they give you, but I like to have it with all the people's names on. They don't always have the names of everyone on it. You've got to search them in this little grid. And then I circle or make notes as to who I want to go say hi to. Now, I'm a content creator in my spare time, so sometimes it's literally I need to go say hi to them because they're my friend. But for the most part, I just know that I want to go to Oink Games because they sell out quickly. I want to go to Button Shy, they sell out quickly. So I know that they're my 2 I want to go to first. And I also just like having the map really small, whereas often it's this huge book with the map in one part, and you're like, great, I've got this huge thing with me with ads in it. But yeah, there's also I'm
complete opposite of that. I hate planning for things. I loathe it. It feels like a homework right before the thing to me. So what I do is I'll look and I'll find one event or something that I definitely want to make, and I plan for that. And that's the only thing I stress about. Everything else, I just wander around aimlessly, and that's what I meant by explore. I just walk around.
I mean, I do. I just, for me, if I don't remember that there were a couple of stands I definitely wanted to see, that new games that are coming out, then I'm going to forget and go, oh, I missed that. That's so annoying. So I like to just make sure that I have. Also, I will talk to every single stand. I will talk to them for at least half an hour each. So if I do that, I won't get around the whole thing. So I need to know that there's one over there that you were going to go talk to. So I love this. Brad likes to bring a gas grill and smoker with him.
Yeah. Alchemy and not. That's a good one.
Do you mean for smoking fish and stuff?
I'm sure he's kidding. That'd be fun though.
I do know people that do that, and it's
Just start
expensive.
barbecuing and.
I mean, I know now where to get my smoked salmon. Just go to Brad's room. But also, you know, there are events. Do you ever book events? Do you like to do those things, or are you completely?
Yeah, like I said, I'll look and I'll try to find one thing that I schedule. Like, okay, I got to go see this author talk thing that's going on, or I got to go see, you know, this designer panel and stuff like that. But maybe one or two, and then that's it. Otherwise, I'm just stressed out about where I am and where I'm supposed to be going all the time. I don't. Yeah, I'd rather just walk around and find stuff.
No, I do totally agree on the stressing about. I don't like having deadlines at these events. Yeah. When I went to UK Games Expo last year, I had about 4 meetings because that was a thing. They were like, "Hey, do you want to have a meeting?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." And the idea of it being there in my head, in an hour's time, I need to be here. In an hour's time, I need to be here, sort of ruined walking around. So now I have a sort of no meetings policy of, I know you want to say hi, I'll make my way over there, which is why I circle them on the map to make sure that I go say hi because I said I would. But again, like sometimes it's making a plan with my partner of we're going to be going to Wink Games first. Right. We're going to be going here first. When it comes to events, though, I often think people forget about them a little bit. Like first time I went to any cons, I booked nothing. They were all booked up. They were sold out or booked out. But it's good to book a couple of things, but also it's good to make sure you have spare time to not do anything and rest and, you know, go and sit down. At UK Games Expo, we actually have just like a grassy area where people are LARPing outside. Every time there's always this Viking LARP going on.
Oh, yeah.
You just sit out there and have eat your lunch, have a watch. It's usually very warm. So you just sit there, which is quite nice. So people have said to bring something to sit on, a foldable chair. That's a good idea if you've got the space. Have you seen those? They look like a film canister, and then you do that and it becomes telescopic chair. They're very good.
I'm one of those people that just end up sitting on the ground in the corner of a place and eat my food and stuff. Like no chairs, I'll just sit over here by the wall.
I think those that can do that do. Those that can't. Yeah. Cool. And then tip number 4 is kind of, you already sort of discussed it a little bit, but this is my way of doing it. Budget and research. You like to go completely with, this is about buying games, but basically what happens is at our conventions is so many shops selling the same games because there's all these retailers. And first time I ever went and I bought a game for 60 quid and I hated it. And I was like, didn't do any research, didn't do anything. Yeah. So I go with a plan of the games I'm looking for, would like to buy, my limit on what I would spend, and how available it is. If I find it there and it's completely unavailable, I know I'm going to have an upper limit on that one. And that helps me work out, on my phone it's got notes, I see it there, price for it, not interested, rather than standing there trying to get internet, searching online to check if it's a good price, because the Wi-Fi in these places are usually terrible for us. So, you know, I think that's what I tend to do. But I don't buy as much anymore. I used to go with like a big list, and it's just, I can't get through them all when I get home. I like to have them slowly. A stack of like 20 games, like I'm not going to get through those. So, but yeah. Does anyone else have any things about spending and how they like to approach it? Or do they just go with their pocket money that they've self-assigned and go, whatever, I'm going to buy stuff?
Yeah, you got, you know, $100 to spend or $200 or whatever. Games are expensive, but yeah, what's funny is I used to go to conventions all the time. Like I said, just let me see what I'll find and stuff. But because I have a show that we started doing, you know, our top 5 of what games are going to be available at the next convention, it started making me prepare against my will for conventions I was going to go to. And when I did that, it was actually better. So I reluctantly prepare for things by like what's going to be available at this con that hasn't been available before, or what's going to be hard to get afterwards, that kind of stuff.
Same. I like to sort of treat myself at these events. So I haven't gotten Wormspan yet, and everyone keeps going, have you got Wormspan yet? I want to know your opinion. And I'm like, it's going to always be available. So I'm not overly concerned about its availability, and I guarantee it will probably be at the UK Games Expo because that's the biggest event in the UK. So everything tends to be there if it's especially Stonemaier. So I want to play it there, hopefully. And if I'm going to get a copy, it's going to be me going, treat myself or treat yourself.
What's a good thing to remember to get and to look up is promos. Because a lot of booths we have a promo card that you can only get if you come by at this time and do this thing. Yeah.
I totally agree. That's what we did at Essen. We went hard on the promos, and Doug spent the first 4 hours queuing for promos.
Yeah.
I was working, so I couldn't do it. So he was just queuing in these long queues to get everything.
It's funny because I went to the ComicCon, the San Diego ComicCon, whenever Simon went there with their, I think they had the Grey Hulk card for the Marvel United thing. And it was the only way you were ever going to get this. And I just got like all these messages on Facebook, like, hey, I know you're going to this thing. Could you get me one? I was like, they only give one per person, and that's mine. Yeah. But I was able to sweet talk him into a second one that I gave to a friend that asked for. So
when I went to Essen, I got Sea Salt and Paper, the expansion, extra salt. It wasn't overly hard to get from shops. It just wasn't in the UK yet. So I think I got 5 packs of those. They were easy to post to my mates, so they were just very small. But I did get the Order Overload Essen edition, which is a memory game, but it had board games from Essen. It was shiny gold cards. So
I remember
you had to pay a certain amount to get that from the Oink Game stand, but we really wanted it. So, damn you, promos.
Yeah, con exclusives are fun.
Yeah, and also Lorcana does promos there, and everyone there's always, especially Essen, there's always like every stand has something they want to give away. Peter says, budget your suitcase space too. Yep, that's what you do, isn't it? So
yeah. I mean, when you fly to one, it's all you can do is figure out how many. It's either that or you end up throwing away clothes, which I have done before. Because I've gotten too many games, I didn't think about it, and I was like, it doesn't fit. I don't really need this shirt, that kind of thing. These pants are getting old, make some room.
I think I threw away a pair of shoes because I brought a really ratty pair with me, in case, this is the thing we have to think about in the UK, in case it's so bad weather that they get soaked. And so I bring a spare pair so I'm not walking around with wet shoes. That spare pair was awful. Like, it was just falling apart, and I went, bin. So Germany has my shoes. But I appreciate that. That's the things you do. I remember I visited LA as an 18-year-old, and I bought so many clothes because at the time 50p here was a dollar. We had an insane exchange rate at the time. And so I bought, I was like, £100 is $200. And I just bought loads of clothes, and I had to buy another bag and put the clothes in. And my mum had to top up my student's bank card that they had because I'd spent too much money on clothes. I'm not even a clothes person. There was just Hot Topic, and
LA was your convention. Yeah.
Exactly. A good tip, Chris, wear single-use clothes.
Yes.
Just paper bags. It's just fine.
Well, if you bring the grill, you could just burn them as you go.
I'd love to know your thoughts on people bringing trolleys. Like, I've
Trolleys?
seen maybe it's a UK thing. People are bringing actual trolleys with them to buy board games. They're taking around full, I don't know, carts.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's become a thing in the last couple of years that I've noticed, and it's usually for the bring and buy, which is where you bring games and you buy games, but also you're selling games and making money to fund, I guess, more board games.
I know a few designers that do it because they have all their prototypes in there, and so they walk around different booths and hey, can I show you this? And of course they have meetings and stuff, but yeah,
that's clever. I mean, as long as it's saving people's spines and not getting in the way of anyone, then I think it's fine.
Right, as long as you're not running people over with them or hitting people. Yeah, because I do get hit by them every now and then, but it's crowded. Yes, our edible Critter Kitchen shirts. There you go.
I don't know how I feel about this. It's just quite dangerous. After flights, are just on the plane, they just dissolve.
Yeah, don't wear it on the plane. I wouldn't wear
it. And then the last tip is have fun and make friends. It's not as cheesy as it sounds, but I think for me, conventions are the places that I've literally made lifelong friends at. And
Yeah.
because they're all over the place, the only time you really get to see them is at these conventions. And weirdly, yeah, unsurprisingly, I have been a nerd my entire life. And at university, there were also nerds around me. And I'd go to these places and go, "You too?" And they're like, "Me too." And I'm like, well, is it really a surprise that me, who was doing a film studies course, and you, who was doing physics, both like board games, ended up at the only big board game convention in the UK, which is just really nice to bump into people. But you can also just meet loads of people and play games with them and realize that you found like common interests in the games that you're playing and choosing. I'm guessing you've made friends.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I have, because I'm an introvert, so I go to these things with my partner most of the time, and or I go there and meet already friends, and I tend to cluster with them and just stick that way. And I have to remind myself, hey, take a moment to go walk around and go see other people that you kind of know a little bit and make better connections and stuff, you know? Because sometimes you could just hang out with a couple of friends and then that's it, and that's your group, and you haven't met anybody else, and you're robbing yourself of experiences and friendships if you don't kind of push yourself out there. Some people naturally do it, but I have to tell myself, okay, this is a time where I will go and meet people, make eye contact, say hi to people. It's something I have to like force myself to do, but I'm happy to do it. Yeah.
I find it that difficult in the real world, where people don't understand fully part of what we do. But it's definitely easier for me at board game conventions because I sense like they feel the same way that I do about the hobby. I definitely made, because there's like certain events in the UK and they're sort of staggered. You see them at the smaller one, and then you see them at, and it's like, because you were like, hey, that was a great time. Everyone's really nice to each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, usually I'm that kid that made friends with all of the teachers. So I do mostly make friends with people on stands. And it's always like, it's you again. And because of the hat, it's not hard for them to remember who I am. So, you know, that helps. But yeah, and also there's the gaming focused events. What's really nice is a lot of them, I don't know if it's the same for you, they put the flags on the tables if they're looking for more players.
Yes, I love that.
And at Aircon, they actually put lightsabers on the tables.
Oh, that's funny.
So if they're looking for more players, they have that out. And if you're looking for someone to play a game, I think you get the board game and do something that way. So that's really nice. And often if there's doing a demo, they'll pull more people in as well because they need a certain number.
I like to, because they also have flags that say looking for a teacher on some of these. I don't know if they do on yours or not, but I like to look around. If I can at least do one like service as that, like, oh, I know that game, and go teach those people that game and then walk away, I feel like I've done something for other people at this convention. It's nice, you know? So I always kind of look at those and, oh, I don't know that game, and, you know. And of course, if it ends up being, you know, Flamecraft or something like that, it's even more fun. But
yeah. I'm getting better at teaching games. My partner's definitely the best one at it. I have to like learn it, and then I know it. But I did in a board game cafe see people were learning Get On Board, which is one of my favorite bus route planning games that I actually discovered at a convention. And I saw they were setting it up, and I was like, oh, I love that game. They're like, we don't know what we're doing. And so I sort of taught it, but I wasn't mentally prepared to teach it. And so I just didn't do a very good job. And they also had never played anything but Monopoly. So it was a really hard jump to go into like the mechanics and stuff that were in there. And so after a while, I was like, just went up to the staff and went, I'm so sorry. I think I made it worse. If you want to go and save them, you might want to.
That's funny. I was with Peter once at a board game convention, and I said, let's play Caverna. And I'd only played once, maybe a year or so before that. And so I was like, I'll teach you, you know, just this confidence that I'll know how to play this game after that long. And we start opening it up. It's this huge game, you know, pieces all over the place. And we got it all out. And I was like, I don't know how to play this game. And Peter had gotten up to go get some coffee or something. I was like, I don't know what to do. And then another person came by and said, oh, I love this game. I was like, can you teach this game? You can even play with us. You know, we have an extra seat. And she said, well, I can't play, but I can teach. She sat down and began to do such a chaotic teach that it made it worse. Like, at the end, she was like, I hope that helps. I think I remembered everything. And then left. And I was just like, I don't even know what these are called anymore. I'm so confused. Like, it made it so much worse. I just like scooped it all back into the bag. And Peter came back and go, are we not playing? I was like, I don't know how to play this game. I went and learned it later and then taught it after that. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure also while I was teaching Get On Board, someone came over with their food and then said, you have 5 minutes left. And they had all their food to eat. They had 5 minutes left. They've just got a game out. And I was like, I don't know what you guys have done for the last 2 hours, but okay then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No,
I demo a lot of games and I teach my game group all of the games because I'm the only one that brings games. So I've created in my head, like, this is the structure in which to teach. And sometimes I get so enthusiastic about a teach that I realize that I haven't followed that structure and I'm all chaos as well. And I've actually stopped her and go, okay, I started this all wrong. Erase everything I just said. We're going to start over.
When someone teaches you so bad, it makes you forget other games.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also I've seen people set up games really late at night. I can't say it. It's called Tekukon.
I'm not going to even try either. It's one of my favorite games, and I have
set it up at 10 o'clock at night, and I was like, "Is this a good idea? This looks really big, and none of us have played it."
Yeah,
that's. I remember just sort of falling asleep, like, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, when I see people at like 10 o'clock at night open up rule books as people are setting them up, I'm like, why? Why are you opening up games and learning them this late? Just get ones that you already know.
That's always a note I say about even just going to board game cafes. I always do a little bit of research before I go to a board game cafe of the games that they have, the games I want to play, and then watch a video beforehand. And I do see people opening up sealed, massive games. And I'm like, I just don't know if this is the time to do that, unless you are like, I'm going to spend my evening doing a solo or something. I did go to a very small board game convention, ZatuCon, where they only had very small round pub tables, and a guy was setting up Everdell, and it was the base game, and the board fit the table. And I said, where are you going to fit your 15 card village? And he was like, I need a 15 card village. I went, yeah, Everdell spreads.
Everybody needs a 15 card. Yeah. Another good tip, actually, as I thought about it, was that whenever you go to conventions, if you know you're meeting up with friends to play games, ask them to or ask them about games that you want to learn that they know, and you bring games, or if they have a library or something like that. That way you can teach each other games. It's so much easier than going through the rule books and stuff. Yeah.
Well, actually, so it's AirCon next weekend. I'm going to be there doing walking around and also doing a seminar talk thing with Kim Joy, who did some wonderful things for us for Critic Kitchen. We're going to be talking about cozy games and why it's become popular and what it means in that kind of gaming space, what's important to us. I'm also going to be taking part in some very strange sort of group game shows, which are the complete opposite of cozy games. So that's going to be fascinating. But yeah, and Boxed Meeples are going to be bringing dwellings that I can play in person, and I'm really excited to. And I said, are you sure that's okay to carry that? And she's like, my husband will carry it, it's fine. I was like, okay. Yeah. So hopefully we'll find time to sit down and play it. That'll be really fun. And I said, do you have the sound bases? I was like, just check. Do they
have the sound bases?
I hope so. Because if I don't get the full experience, I'm going to be sorely disappointed and I'll have to win.
I always play with my sound bases. Every time the monster comes out, I turn it on to the right one and I put it on and it makes the noise and stuff. I don't care.
I love the sounds. They're amazing. But yes, that's all of our tips. Oh, so many tips. And I also read all of yours in the comments, and very smart. Someone said, make sure you find a meeting place to meet your friends if you're going to hang out. Yes. I always go with like the cafe, that like there's always a cafe. Go meet the most leftmost cafe or something.
I always pick out something interesting because they have big floaty things above booths and stuff like that. So I say, oh, go for the giant Mario or whatever it is, and then that way I'm amongst cool stuff that I can look at while I'm waiting on them.
Yeah, absolutely, that's true. Usually Lucky Duck has a big spinning something. So
yeah,
good point towards that. I think it's more that some of my friends don't want to meet in a big busy area. So we'll try and find a place that someone can sit down and wait for other people to arrive, like the food court or something. But yeah, I'll definitely be doing meetups at UK Games Expo. I'll be like telling the Discord, anyone who wants to come meet, be here at this time. But yeah, and a quick question for you. What do you want to see more of from board game conventions? What do you think they could improve on, or areas that we need more of?
I think that's an individual, because they're all so different, right? Like every time I go to the conventions or like Gen Con, they're all expo, I'm like, you need more games being played here. And every time I go to the ones with games, you need more, yeah. But, for the most part, most conventions do it pretty well. I think whenever you're thinking about like locations and stuff, you need to make sure food is there. I've been to a couple of, I won't say which ones, but I've been to a couple of conventions where there's no vegetarian options. They just think, oh, salad, and that's an insulting thing. Yeah. There's just no thoughts about like celiac or people who have issues with food. Pizza and hot dogs just doesn't cut it anymore.
That's true. So, it's like a default option of surely they just want junk food, and I was like, people don't actually want junk food while they're walking around all day dehydrated. They actually want something with like a bit of vitamins in it and good stuff to keep them going. Yeah, no, that's a good shout. For me, I think that the most difficult one is accessibility for people who have like mobility aids and stuff like that. I think that in their nature they are very busy events, and I've seen a lot of quiet spaces still be in, like, they'll take a booth out and say this is a quiet space, and that's not actually a quiet space to most people who need like sensory like areas to be. So I think they actually need to make use of rooms, and if they've got offices, they need to be converting those if they can. It's very difficult, but it is one of the areas that's very problematic in that people, like, I'm running events and someone says I can't queue, so what do we do? And I wish there'd already been a plan in place rather than us going email and we'll work it out. I'd rather go, you can just come and pick something up and then come back and jump the queue, that kind of thing.
Right.
So those are things that are like really, I think, really good. I'd like to see like more events that are a little bit more like escape rooms and other things going on, like movie nights and stuff, just because some people don't want to talk more after they talked all day.
Sometimes you just need to collapse.
Yeah. Good food options that don't require hours away from gaming.
Yes, that's actually a thing, because sometimes you're like, oh, let's go get lunch, and then it's been 3 hours because you hang out with your friends and talk and stuff like that, and you're like, did we play any games today? It's only like 2 games, or so
yeah, the queuing for food. But apparently us Brits like to queue. We don't. It's just we do. If we don't like it, we like it when there's no queue.
You mean stand in line, basically, right?
Yeah. Do you not use the word queue?
Not as much as you just did. Not in that way, I guess. I mean, some people probably do.
Q-U-E-U-E. It's the worst word ever.
Yeah.
But yes,
I'm sure people do.
Queue.
I just don't. Yeah.
Come to London and queue. But we also have a garden called Kew Gardens, which is spelled K-W, which just adds to the confusion. But it's also beautiful there, and I highly recommend it.
You have to queue for Q?
Pardon?
You have to queue for Q? To go
Sometimes, yeah. Some cons feel like an escape room. It's true. I don't know. This is a really niche reference to Father Ted, but there's an episode of Father Ted, which is a classic British TV show, where they get stuck in a shopping centre and they get stuck in the bra section and they're trying to leave and work out how to leave. And these are all
funny
vicars who are just like they're treating it like they're sort of in the trenches. It's very funny. That's all I can think of. Look, do you queue for Q? But he knows how to spell it. There we go.
There you go.
But yeah, thanks everyone so much for joining. I'm just going to say again, I'm at Aircon next week. If anyone is in the UK near Harrogate and wants to come along, it's an amazing event. I'm actually running a giveaway on my little channel, Cozy Board Games, where you can win a bundle of cozy games, which does include Flamecraft. Are we surprised? No. From a shop called Traveling Man, who also run Aircon, and they're giving away tickets as well. So feel free to join that if you want. But it's an amazing event. It's small. It's very much gaming focused, like Chris is talking about. There's one hall for stands or booths, and there's like 4 halls for gaming. And then upstairs, they actually have seminar rooms for quiet spaces, which is excellent. And D&D, RPGs, some tournaments. I think there's a Hive tournament going down. I'm not very good at Hive, so I won't be entering that, but it's good fun. And yeah, there we go. Look, information. It was there all along. And yeah, we've also got, as we said at the beginning, the Andromeda's Edge update is out. Does anyone have any questions in the last few minutes for Chris? I didn't see any questions come up about it while I was hunting. No one wants to test you.
Peter's talking about Gamma 79 booths. Oh, that's
Gamma had 79 booths for a sponsorship program. Pub folks that got funds to support and come who didn't make it otherwise. That's cool. That's awesome. That's a good idea. That's a great idea. That is another issue, is getting different like communities to come to events. I was talking to Nabil, who runs Traveling Man, and also is one of the people who runs Aircon, and he said it's reaching out to different communities and making it affordable and accessible for them, because as we know, the board gaming hobby is expensive. Just going to a convention we know is going to cost people, so they're trying to find ways to help. So that's amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah. Any questions? I know all the secrets to Cardboard Alchemy, and I haven't been told to be quiet about them at all. So just no kidding.
All the secrets.
All the secrets.
While the questions come in, today I have been filming a TikTok, and if anyone doesn't know, not that I haven't said it, we do have a hello. Look, a full. How is the full 42 commenting right now? You're the full 42.
That's Mike, my co-host, I assume.
I thought so. But yes, we have a TikTok, and we also run other social platforms as well. And I've been doing my first paint job.
Yes.
This is Loaf. And this is really bright lighting, which is probably a good thing for me. I would have loved to. I have an idea now to paint it with stitches as though it is a plushie, but I've thought of that too late. So another time. But yes, it's not done yet, but it's getting there. And I've got it on this fun jar lid, so I don't keep touching it, even though I keep touching it.
Oh, that's what that is. I was wondering.
Did yours not come with these large bases?
I was like, did she decorate the base? That's like,
No, it's a jam jar.
It's a jar. Oh, okay. Yeah, we do. I just didn't think about it. That's funny.
Yeah.
Use like tack to put it on there.
Yeah, I did a slap chop method, if anyone knows what that means. I'm still learning any of these things, but it was like the simplest way to get nice shading. And if you want to see something really weird, because I sprayed some of the others, that's hot dog. In grey, because that's what you spray on first. And mulch is certainly looking quite strange as well. But you know.
There's another method where you I started this with my Marvel United figures and then didn't paint them, but you spray paint them black and then you do white from above as if that's like where the light goes.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
So you just take like a white burst and you go on the top, and then it kind of looks like light is there, and then you paint over it, but it kind of guides your, and all the little crevices and stuff keep it. So it looks really interesting, but I haven't gotten to the paint part.
That would work really well for like a Jabba the Hutt.
Oh yeah,
because it's basically like that shape. That's amazing. I love all these different like painting techniques. Thanks, Peter. I'm glad you like how Loaf is looking, and it looks best from afar. Peter's question is a burning one. Can it be here already? Can I stop making the files? Only the appendix left.
Yes.
So close to the edge, but so far.
What's funny is I still have not played a physical copy of this game.
Really?
Yeah, I've been there with the physical copy in LA several times, but we didn't get around to playing it. I've only played it in TTS with Peter and Brad and everybody else and other people, but every time I can, because I enjoy it. But I can't wait to get my hands on the actual physical copy.
Same. I'm very excited about all the bits fitting together because when I was in the model shop, the Warhammer shop. Do you have Warhammer shops? You
Yep.
do. Okay, they're everywhere. Great. And it's just so niche, right? Just this one brand has a shop. And I was talking to them and then I was showing them the Andromeda's Edge minis going, well, actually they all come with the wash if you go for the all in for people who don't want to paint them. But you also could paint. There are so many to paint that I definitely want to. I don't think I'd touch the hive. The hive is too pretty as it is.
Yeah.
But I think the space pirate. Were they space pirates? What are they called?
The ones with the ice in the back. Yeah.
The face.
The ice. Those are ice pirates. Yeah.
I want to paint the face because it's just really cool.
I don't think I can paint the gold one because the raiders are all gold and then different, see-through colors and stuff like that. I don't think I want to paint those, but not that other people shouldn't. But I looked at them in LA whenever I went to visit a couple months ago, and they looked amazing with the wash and stuff. I think maybe I would paint the buildings because they're gray with wash, right? So a little more detail and stuff would be really cool with those.
And they would work really well with just like gray with a dry brush white because they just.
Yeah, I might actually like go in like if there's little windows on ships or something like that. I might put little lights or something in there. But I don't think I'd change one.
And little scenes and references to different shows in because that's what's in the modules.
Yeah. I really hope you can see all the stuff that's in the modules are like what this big and. Some of the stuff I put, it's like that tiny. You might need a magnifying glass.
I grew up on Where's Wally or Where's Waldo, if you want to call it something weird. And it's British. Come on. We'll find it. We'll find it.
There's a lot of hidden references. There's a lot of hidden references in those. Peter asked me to write out my top 5 of those, and I started looking through them and then writing out. Oh, this one's this one, and I couldn't. So there's just a huge list that I wrote to them. I was like, I can't pick my 5 out of there. They're all great. So, go ahead.
I'm just amazing. Look how many I like.
Too good.
Are they all secrets? Or are they?
No, they're not secrets. I'm happy for people to find
the Futurama one. And
Yeah. There's one where there's it's called the Cryo Chamber or something like that, and it's got little jars with people's heads in them, like just the silhouettes of the heads. So it's like like the presidents and stuff like that. But it also has Fry frozen in the cryo chamber. But it's like this big, so I'm like, I don't know if anybody's going to notice these or not. But it's gonna be fun. It was fun.
When you designed them, did you like print them off to size and check, or were you just like fingers crossed?
No, I mean I know how big they are and stuff. So it'll come out in detail because it's all vector drawn. So every little detail will still be there, but you may have to have really good eyesight to see some of the little details and stuff. But a lot of them are going to be big. A lot of them you'll be able to
add on magnifying glass.
Yeah. There's one module that has 2 totally different references that I put together, which is Minority Report and the Never Ending Story.
I'm trying to hang on, wait. I'm trying to think of how they would possibly connect. Umbrellas, no. I love Minority Report, like amazing. Yeah. I also love Never Ending Story, obviously. I mean, who doesn't? I mean, is Falcor in it? Is it Falcor?
No. So it's called the Precognition Chamber, and so the middle part has a Minority Report thing where you see a bald person laying in the pool, like the the precognition people. So they're laying in a pool, but on the sides there's still statues on all of the civilization ones, and those statues are the oracles that tell the future whenever you walk through them. So it's totally weird. Yeah.
Were they sphinxes or were they like the?
Yeah, they're called the oracles, but they look like 2 kind of sphinxes. They had big wings, kind of thing. Yeah, amazing. A lion body and female face.
So not a precog with a drowning horse.
Right. Right. So yeah, I had fun with.
Sounds really fun. I love it. Physical deluxe copy has so many cool game trays, lids in an intricate package. Raider trays has levels. Commander Carrier is going to bring all developments to the table. Will be epic. It definitely will be epic. I need to build another room in my house, flat, small box that I live in. As a reminder, everyone, this is my literal wingspan. And I will build a desk out of it.
Well, Andromeda can take up about a quarter of that, so that's
it's gonna be good. I mean, I'll just have a standing desk if I put it right here, so it's fine. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have some friends who are going to be wanting to steal it every night because they're very much into these kinds of games, and yeah, they took my Moonraker's Titan edition, so I have to be careful.
Took it.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I also particularly like that. Sort of, it looks like our rooms blur because I've got sort of my door there.
Oh yeah.
You know, I was actually full of enamel pins. Fun fact.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah, I was wondering. I was thinking about it like while we were talking. Like, what is all that?
It's like those IKEA fake plant squares you can get, and then I thought, well, I'll put my enamel pins that look like bugs and moths on it, and occasionally I get hit by one of them. They're quite heavy. It's like fring. But yeah, you know, I'll just put pins everywhere because there's so many. But you know, but thanks so much for joining me. Thanks so much everyone for joining Talk About Conventions. I'm very excited to go to one next week, and I'm really sorry, Chris, that you're not, because you're now like, yay!
I get one next month. I'll go to
next month. Yeah, it's an excellent time to stop because my dog has started barking because it's 8 o'clock, and apparently that means nothing. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And as usual, have a wonderful weekend. And we'll be back. I don't know how we'll be back next week exactly, but we'll work it out. We're going to figure it out. It's going to be great. And yeah, goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Just keep